Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are tackling a subject that is genuinely the highest return on investment you can probably make in your life. We're talking about maximizing your brain power.
Yeah. Engineering a sharper, stronger, more resilient mind. It's huge.
It really is. Whether you're deep in, specialized research, maybe leading a big project, or honestly just trying to navigate this world with its constant information overload,
Right.
cognitive clarity, that's the ultimate edge, isn't it?
It truly is. And we've got a pretty monumental task ahead today
We do.
because we are diving into a really comprehensive stack of research here. It's basically a guide outlining 15 specific science-backed strategies
15. Wow.
designed to stop your brain from just, functioning and actually push it into high-performance mode.
So not just tips, but a system.
A complete system, exactly.
Okay, so our mission for this deep dive, let's unpack the mechanics, right? The why and the how behind every single one of these 15 tactics. We want to deliver not just the sort of surprising facts, but the specific, actionable insights you need.
So you can understand the science underneath it all.
And start implementing these changes, like, immediately.
Okay, let's get into it. Let's unpack this system. To get to that unstoppable cognitive power, we first have to recognize something fundamental.
Which is?
The brain, it's in your head,
Yeah.
but it's fundamentally supported by the body.
Ah, right. So we have to start with the biological foundation.
We absolutely do.
Exactly. I like thinking of the brain as, like, the body's most complex and expensive piece of machinery, a real luxury engine.
That's a great way to put it. And like any high-performance engine, it demands perfect fuel, meticulous maintenance. Otherwise,
It lags. It slows down.
right. And what's fascinating, or maybe worrying, is how often people mentally separate the effort they put into thinking from the physical stuff they put into their bodies.
Yeah, like they're totally unrelated.
But the research, it's completely unequivocal. Your cognitive function is dictated directly by the quality of its resources.
Okay, so let's start with resource number one. Number one, feed your brain.
The fuel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We hear healthy eating all the time, but this guide gets specific. It talks about certain compounds. Let's discuss omega-3 fatty acids.
Yes.
Crucial.
They aren't just good for you, the research says. They're essential structural components of the brain.
They're literally the building blocks, especially one called DHA, docosahexaenoic acid.
Okay, DHA.
If you actually look at the membranes of your brain cells, the walls around the neurons, they're largely made up of these fatty acids. Now, why does that matter?
Tell us.
Because the fluidity of that membrane, how flexible it is, dictates how fast signals can pass between synapses.
Ah, okay. So if your membranes are stiff because you're lacking those quality omega-3,
Your whole neural network slows down.
it's like trying to send a message over a really congested phone line or something.
Precisely. And that's why sources like salmon, walnuts, chia seeds, they're highlighted. They provide the necessary ingredients to keep those membranes fluid, enabling faster, more efficient synaptic transmission.
Right. Contrast that with, say, highly saturated or processed fats. They can actually make those membranes less flexible, more rigid.
Slowing everything down. Okay, so that's the structure. What about the protection and the energy side of the fuel?
Right, the other half of the equation. We've got antioxidants.
From things like berries.
Especially those deep-colored berries, yeah. They act like tiny little shields, basically.
Guarding the brain cells.
Exactly. Against oxidative stress, which is a type of damage that happens naturally over time, but can be accelerated by poor diet or stress.
Okay. And the guide specifically calls out green leafy vegetables too. Spinach, kale, for memory.
Yes, they seem to have specific compounds that enhance memory function. But if we zoom out a bit, the big picture here is about sustained output.
Right.
That analogy you sometimes hear pouring soda into a Ferrari.
Yeah, I've heard that.
It's perfect here. Sugary, processed foods, they give you this massive immediate dopamine hit. Feels good for a second.
And
then you get that horrible crash in blood sugar and energy. Kills your focus completely.
Yeah.
And if you run on that kind of low-octane fuel consistently for years, the long-term cost is things like chronic inflammation and eventually, cognitive decline.
So clean whole foods, they're the high-octane sustained power source.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
They provide steady energy without the crash.
Okay, fuel is covered. Let's move from fuel to active repair. Number 2 is critical. Get enough sleep.
Absolutely critical.
And the point here is this isn't a luxury. It's not passive rest. It's scheduled maintenance for your cognitive machine.
Yes, and we need to go deeper than just rest. While you're asleep, particularly in those deeper slow wave or delta wave cycles, The brain activates this amazing internal plumbing system. It's
Really?
called the glymphatic system.
Lymphatic system. Okay. Sounds like lymph nodes, but for the brain.
Sort of, yeah. Think of it like a dedicated microscopic cleaning crew that only works the night shift.
Okay, what's it cleaning out specifically?
It's flushing out metabolic waste, the toxic byproducts that build up from all the high-intensity brain activity during the day.
Like what kind of byproducts?
Well, the most famous one people might have heard of is beta-amyloid protein.
The stuff linked to Alzheimer's disease.
Exactly. If you continually interrupt your sleep or just don't get enough, that metabolic trash starts to pile up.
Leading to that foggy feeling, the cognitive lag the next day.
Right.
And
Potentially worse long-term issues. So sleep is absolutely non-negotiable for waste management and also for memory.
that makes the consequence of skipping sleep so much clearer. It's not just feeling tired, you're literally refusing to reboot and clean the system.
You got it.
And you mentioned memory. Is sleep the time when learning actually gets locked in?
Absolutely. During both REM sleep and deep sleep, your hippocampus, that's a key memory center, is incredibly active.
What's it doing?
It's consolidating memories. It's shifting new information, things you learned that day, from a kind of short-term holding area into more permanent, long-term storage in the cortex.
Wow. So if you miss that crucial sleep window,
The day's learning can literally just slip away. It doesn't get filed properly.
which is why that practical goal the guide mentions 7 to 9 hours of good quality, consistent sleep,
Consistency key.
dark room, avoiding screens before bed.
That's the foundation of learning and memory, really.
It truly is foundational.
Okay, let's pivot. Fuel, check. Maintenance, check. Now, number 3, exercise regularly.
Ah, yes.
This is where the body actively delivers some of the best possible chemical inputs to the brain. Most people think gym, physical benefits.
Right, biceps and cardio.
But the research suggests the biggest gains might actually be upstairs, in your head.
The research on exercise as a cognitive enhancer is it's incredibly compelling. It's robust.
How does it work?
When you move your body, especially when you do aerobic activity, getting your heart rate up, the brain releases something really potent.
Okay.
It's called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF.
BDNF, okay, that sounds important. Like a cheat code for neuroplasticity or something. Could you break down its role? Yeah, you could almost think of it like miracle grow for your brain. Seriously.
Really?
BDNF promotes neurogenesis. That's the actual growth of new neurons.
Wow, new brain cells.
And crucially, it also strengthens the existing connections, the synapses between neurons. Makes them more robust, more efficient.
Where is it most active?
It's particularly active in the hippocampus.
The memory center we just talked about with sleep.
Exactly. So exercise, by boosting BDNF, directly enhances your ability to learn and form new long-term memories. It's literally helping you build a bigger, stronger memory warehouse.
That's amazing. Now, I often hear people say, oh, I don't have time for a full workout. Is there a minimum effective dose to get this BDNF release?
Yes, absolutely. The key seems to be elevating your heart rate and increasing that oxygenated blood flow to the brain.
So you don't need to run a marathon.
Definitely not. Even a brisk 20-minute walk or a short jog can provide a significant oxygen boost.
And that helps mood and creativity too, right? Almost immediately.
Almost immediately. That rush of oxygen feeds the neurons, wakes everything up, and kickstarts that chemical release, including BDNF. It's an incredibly efficient way to get a cognitive edge, maybe right before a mentally demanding task.
Okay, good tip. Now, connecting exercise to the next biological point. Number 4, stay hydrated.
Yes, another seemingly basic one, but critical.
We're pumping oxygenated blood around, which is great, but the fluid carrying that blood and oxygen is just as vital.
Could be more vital.
And the statistic is just startling. The brain is approximately 75% water.
75%. It feels like an organ operating constantly on the edge of drought, doesn't it?
It really does.
And even a tiny deficit has huge consequences. We're talking mild dehydration, maybe just a 1–2% drop in your body weight due to water loss.
That doesn't sound like much.
It's enough to measurably impair neurotransmitter activity.
Wow, so it's not just about feeling thirsty.
No, it directly translates into things like headaches, difficulty concentrating, poor focus, and even mood swings, irritability.
Guy, what's happening chemically?
Your brain's complex chemical signaling, all those neurotransmitters firing, simply cannot happen efficiently if the medium water is depleted. Things get sluggish.
Okay, so that simple trick the guide mentions, keep a water bottle nearby, sip it every 20 minutes or so.
It's a critical, low-effort way to prevent a potentially massive drop in cognitive performance throughout the day.
It's like the oil for the brain's engine.
That's a perfect analogy. You can put the best fuel in, those omega-3s we talked about.
Right.
But if the oil is low, everything starts to grind. Performance suffers.
So aim for at least 8 glasses a day, maybe more if you're active or it's hot.
That's the general guideline. It lubricates all those intricate chemical processes, ensures smooth cognitive operation, keeps those neural pathways clear for communication.
All right. We've built the biological foundation. The engine is fueled, it's cleaned during sleep, it's lubricated with water, boosted by exercise.
Tick, 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 tick.
Now, we shift gears. We move from that sort of passive support to active strategies, things designed specifically to build and maintain neural strength.
Yeah, this is the cognitive workout part.
Using the brain like a muscle that you have to consistently challenge if you want it to grow.
Exactly. This whole section focuses squarely on neuroplasticity.
The brain's ability to rewire itself.
Right. If you stick to the same old routines, your brain gets efficient, sure, but also lazy.
It stops adapting.
Exactly. But if you push the boundaries, learn new things, it actually builds new roads, new connections.
Okay, so starting with number 5, keep learning new things. This feels intuitive, but what's the specific cognitive benefit of, say, picking up Spanish or learning to play the piano?
Well, the beauty of learning complex, novel skills like that is they force the creation of entirely new neural pathways.
How so?
Take learning a language, you're engaging so many different brain regions at once. Auditory processing for listening, memory retrieval for vocabulary, motor skills for speaking, even abstract concept mapping for grammar.
Right, it's a full brain workout.
It is. And this kind of multidisciplinary engagement improves your overall cognitive flexibility.
Cognitive flexibility. That's the brain's ability to switch tasks easily, to adapt and solve different kinds of problems quickly.
Precisely. It makes your thinking more agile. And I imagine this is why the sources really stress the importance of maintaining curiosity.
Curiosity as the engine.
Absolutely. The moment you sort of decide, okay, I know enough, and you settle into just consuming familiar information.
Your comfort zone.
Right. That process of neurogenesis, of building new connections, it slows down dramatically. Curiosity is the spark. If you're not actively seeking out new knowledge or skills, you're functionally letting your brain stagnate.
So always seek novelty. Keep that gray matter actively building new roads.
That's the key. Keep it challenged.
Okay. Now moving from active learning to active processing. Number 6, writing things down.
Ah, yes. This one seems almost quaint, doesn't it, in our super digital world?
It does. But the guide insists its benefits are profound. And it's not just about note-taking, is it? It's about deeper processing.
Exactly. Deeper encoding.
Why does the physical act of writing by hand seem to offer better retention compared to just typing notes?
It seems to connect to the level of engagement required by the brain. When you type, it's largely a single, fairly low-level motor skill repeating. Tap, tap, tap.
Right.
But when you handwrite, you involve much more. There's the haptic feedback, the feel of the pen on paper. There's fine motor control, coordinating your muscles, and there's the visual spatial processing needed to form the letters and lay them out.
So it's just a richer sensory and motor experience.
It forces the brain to process the information more slowly, more deliberately, more sequentially, and that seems to encode it more deeply into memory.
So that physical effort, the friction of handwriting, it anchors the information more firmly. Does it engage attention systems differently too, like the reticular activating system?
That's likely part of it, yes. It signals to the brain, pay attention, this is important. It's a more demanding task.
Okay, and this applies really well to goal setting, doesn't it?
Beautifully. The practical application is simple but powerful. Writing down, say, 3 specific goals every morning, by hand.
Why does that work better than typing them into an app?
That physical act of writing them down seems to ground your mental energy. It focuses your conscious attention on those specific items, making them feel more real, more concrete.
More likely to be acted upon than goals just floating around as pixels.
Exactly. It primes your brain for action.
Okay, interesting. Now, the next strategy, number 7, challenge your brain, seems to push us directly out of that comfort zone we mentioned earlier. Routine might be efficient, but it's the enemy of cognitive growth.
It really is.
Yeah.
Routine allows the brain to automate processes, to run on autopilot, which saves energy, fine.
But it stops demanding adaptation.
Precisely. If you want growth, you need novelty. You need intentional discomfort sometimes,
Yeah.
even in small ways.
Like what kind of ways?
We're talking simple shifts. like using your non-dominant hand for mundane tasks.
Brushing your teeth with the other hand, opening doors.
Yeah, things like that. Seems
Yeah.
trivial, right?
A little bit, yeah. Why does switching hands actually work?
It forces bilateral activation of the brain. Your dominant hemisphere handles those routine tasks without even thinking.
Right.
When you switch hands, you force the opposite hemisphere, the one that's typically less involved in that specific motor task, to engage actively in motor planning and execution.
Ah, so you're waking up and exercising pathways that normally just sit idle for that task.
Exactly. It builds fresh connections, provides a little mental shakeup, even something like taking a completely new route to work.
Instead of the usual commute autopilot.
Right. It forces your brain to exit that autopilot mode and actively map its environment, pay attention to landmarks, make navigation decisions. It's a small challenge, but it's novel.
And this is also where those more targeted brain games come in, isn't it? Like Sudoku, complex crosswords, memory apps.
Yes, those serve as focused exercises. They demand specific cognitive skills, logic, pattern recognition, working memory, and force new neural pathways to be built or strengthened very quickly.
So the overall benefit of novelty, whether it's small shifts or dedicated games, is building resistance to complacency.
That's it. Every time you throw a new, unexpected task at your brain, it has to adapt. It has to build, optimize, figure it out.
And this perpetual state of adaptation keeps the mind sharp, flexible.
And fundamentally younger, cognitively speaking. It fights stagnation.
Okay. Now we arrive at what feels like a really counterintuitive strategy, especially in our, hustle culture world. Number 8, take breaks.
Oh, yes. The power of the pause.
We often feel guilty if we stop working, don't we? Like we're slacking off.
Totally. But the research strongly suggests that trying to work constantly, pushing through fatigue, is actually the real failure.
Why? Because the brain just isn't built for it.
It's not a machine designed for 8, 10, 12 hours of unbroken high-level focused attention. Trying to force that focus when you're mentally drained leads to diminishing returns.
Your quality drops off a cliff.
Exactly. And you head towards rapid burnout. So, paradoxically, working constantly often reduces the overall quality and quantity of your output in the long run.
So breaks aren't just about rest in the sense of stopping. They're a necessary functional part of high-level thinking.
Yes, very functional. This is rooted in the neuroscience of attention and learning. Our brains seem to operate in, broadly, 2 modes.
Okay.
There's the focused mode. That's when you're concentrating hard, deliberately working on a problem, like doing complex math or writing code.
Right, intense effort.
And then there's the diffuse mode. This is more relaxed, the kind of background processing. It happens when you let your mind wander, maybe when you're taking a shower, going for a walk, or just spacing out.
And that diffuse mode is where the creative insights often pop up, right? When the brain connects seemingly unrelated ideas subconsciously.
Exactly. It's essential for problem solving and creativity. When you take a structured break, you are deliberately allowing your brain to shift into that valuable diffuse mode.
Okay, so how do we leverage this effectively? The guide mentions a specific technique.
Yes, the Pomodoro technique is a great example. It's very structured.
How does it work?
You work with intense focus for a set period, typically 25 minutes. Then you take a mandatory short break, usually 5 minutes, completely step away.
25 on, 5 off.
Right. That structure respects the natural limits of sustained human attention. It allows the brain to consolidate information processed during the focus period, and crucially, it prevents overload and burnout.
So that 5-minute break isn't wasted time.
Not at all. Rest is not idleness in this context. Rest is progress. It ensures you can maintain high output sustainably over a longer period.
Okay, fantastic. So we've fueled the engine, we've maintained it, we've actively trained it with learning and challenges, and we know how to pace it with breaks.
We've covered the core mechanics and training.
Now we need to address the operating environment, both external and internal, the noise.
Right. Because a high-performance brain needs to operate in a state of, let's call it, operational clarity.
Meaning we have to manage the external pressures and also the internal emotional states that can just completely erode focus and performance.
Exactly. This section is all about creating the ideal internal climate where peak performance can actually happen. And it starts with mastering your own attention.
Which leads us perfectly to number 9, meditate daily.
The mental gym.
The sources call it the mental gym, and that feels like a crucial distinction. It's not necessarily about emptying your mind, is it?
No, not usually, especially for beginners. It's more about building mental endurance, training your focus.
How does it do that?
Well, meditation, particularly mindfulness meditation, is essentially focus training for your prefrontal cortex.
The CEO of the brain, executive functions, decision-making.
That's the one. When you meditate, you typically focus on something simple, like your breath. Your mind will wander. That's normal.
Okay.
The actual training, the rep in the mental gym, is noticing that your mind has wandered and then gently, without judgment, bringing your attention back to your breath.
Ah, so each time you bring it back, that's strengthening the focus muscle.
Exactly. You are literally training your ability to redirect your attention when it drifts.
Yeah.
And that is the fundamental skill of concentration.
And it only takes, what, 10 minutes a day, according to the guide?
Even 10 minutes consistently can make a difference. Plus, there's another huge benefit. It helps calm the amygdala.
The brain's fear center, the alarm system.
Right. Regular meditation seems to dampen its reactivity.
So if the amygdala is calmer, we're less likely to be triggered into that fight or flight stress response.
Correct. We become less reactive, less prone to getting hijacked by stress or anxiety.
Which must free up enormous cognitive resources that would otherwise be wasted on worry or panic.
Precisely. The technique itself is simple. Sit comfortably, close your eyes if you like, focus on your breath, and just observe thoughts come and go without getting swept away by them.
Creating distance between yourself and the mental noise.
Leading to a sharper but also a more peaceful mind, one that's capable of sustained concentration because it's not constantly being pulled off track. It's a real investment in your baseline mental serenity.
And that serenity you mentioned is absolutely vital because it directly counteracts the next point. Number 10, manage stress.
Yeah, and the sources here offer a very stark, very clear warning.
Which is?
Chronic stress is identified flat out as a brain killer.
A brain killer. Wow. Okay, we need to understand why. Why is stress so damaging beyond just feeling overwhelmed or anxious?
It comes down to a specific chemical response in the body, driven by a hormone called cortisol.
Ah, cortisol, the stress hormone.
Exactly. Now, acute stress, a sudden deadline, a genuine emergency, triggers a cortisol release that's necessary and helpful. It mobilizes energy, sharpens focus temporarily.
Right, gets you ready for action.
But the problem is chronic, sustained stress, the kind many people experience daily from work pressure, financial worries, constant connectivity.
That keeps cortisol levels elevated constantly.
Yes, it keeps cortisol flooding the system. And this hormone, when chronically high, is highly destructive to brain cells.
Destructive how?
Particularly to neurons in the hippocampus.
There's the hippocampus again, memory central.
Memory central. High cortisol levels literally damage and can even kill hippocampal neurons. It impairs the formation of new memories and makes it harder to retrieve existing ones.
So sustained cortisol literally shrinks the parts of your brain you need most for learning and remembering.
That's what the evidence suggests. So dealing with stress isn't some kind of self-indulgent luxury.
It's a necessary biological defense strategy. You're protecting your core cognitive assets.
Absolutely. And the solutions proposed are accessible. Learning to recognize your stress triggers and consciously pausing. Practicing deep diaphragmatic breathing that sends a powerful signal to your nervous system that you're safe. Countering the stress response.
Mindfulness, we just talked about. Engaging in hobbies you genuinely enjoy.
Anything that allows you to switch off that stress response and activate the parasympathetic rest and digest system. The core message is unavoidable. A calm brain is a clear brain. Relaxation isn't optional. It's a necessary, scheduled way to recharge and protect your hardware.
Okay, powerful point. Now, moving from managing internal states to looking outward at external activation. Number 11, socialize and connect.
Right. This might seem purely like leisure time, right? Hang out with friends.
Yeah, it feels like fun, not necessarily brain training.
But the research frames it as active cognitive strengthening.
How so?
Because human beings are fundamentally social creatures. We evolved in tribes, and our brains are wired for connection.
Okay.
And when you're engaged in a meaningful conversation, think about everything your brain is doing simultaneously.
Like what?
You're processing verbal input, understanding language, you're reading nonverbal cues, facial expressions, tone of voice, you're regulating your own emotional response, you're engaging in theory of mind, trying to understand the other person's perspective, what they might be thinking or feeling.
Right, predicting their reactions.
And you're constantly retrieving relevant memories and information to contribute to the conversation.
Wow. Okay, when you break it down like that, it sounds like a really heavy-duty cognitive workout. It's not just idle chatter.
Not at all. It's a complex, dynamic simulation requiring massive resource allocation across multiple brain networks.
Which would explain why studies consistently show that people with strong, diverse social connections.
They tend to exhibit better memory performance as they age. They show greater cognitive resilience against decline. And, fascinatingly, they often live longer.
It's the thrive factor in action.
Absolutely. So making time to call a friend, join a club or a group, have a deep conversation that's not taking time away from being productive. It's actively maintaining and strengthening your cognitive health.
Very interesting perspective. Okay, let's talk about another pervasive environmental factor that directly acts on the brain. Number 12, listen to music.
Music. The sources describe it almost as magical.
And I think the reason they say that is because it seems to be one of the few stimuli we encounter that engages pretty much the entire brain all at once.
That's exactly right. Music is a whole brain activator. It hits the auditory cortex, obviously, for processing the sound itself. It strongly engages the emotional centers, the limbic system, hence why music affects our mood so powerfully. It activates memory centers, associating songs with past experiences.
And if it has a strong beat or rhythm,
It engages motor regions, too, makes you want to tap your foot or dance. This incredibly powerful simultaneous activation across multiple areas has real benefits.
like improving mood, boosting creativity.
Aiding memory recall, sometimes even focus.
Now, what's interesting is the strategic application mentioned. We often hear about using classical music, maybe Mozart specifically, for focus. Is that a real phenomenon?
Well, the specific Mozart effect, the idea that listening to Mozart makes you permanently smarter, has been largely overstated or debunked.
Okay, I thought so.
However, the principle holds some water. Non-lyrical, structured music, whether it's classical, ambient, electronic, certain types of jazz, can create a stable, predictable acoustic environment.
Which helps block out distracting noise.
Exactly. And it might promote alpha brain waves, which are associated with a state of relaxed alertness or flow. The lack of lyrics is key for focus, as lyrics engage language processing centers, which can interfere with tasks like reading or writing.
Right. And what about upbeat music?
Upbeat tunes, things with a strong rhythm and positive feel, tend to stimulate dopamine release in the brain's reward center, the nucleus accumbens.
Giving you energy and motivation.
Yeah, great for getting you pumped up for a workout or tackling a tedious task. So it's about using music strategically. Background music isn't just noise. It can be a tool to modulate your mood and focus.
Got it. Okay, finally in the section, we need to address the crucial shift away from our default indoor screen-based lives. Number 13, spend time in nature.
Yes, a vital reset button. Our brains evolved over millennia outdoors in natural environments.
Yet now, most of us spend, 90% or more of our lives inside, often staring at screens.
Exactly. And that modern environment, the constant notifications, the artificial lights, the noise, the relentless stream of information requires constant directed attention.
Meaning we have to consciously force ourselves to focus and filter things out.
Right. And that puts a huge tax on our prefrontal cortex, leading to what's called directed attention fatigue. Basically, mental exhaustion.
Okay, so what does nature do to counteract that fatigue?
Nature provides something researchers call soft fascination.
Soft fascination.
Yeah, natural environments, the gentle movement of leaves in the breeze, the sound of water flowing, clouds drifting, birds on. These things capture our attention effortlessly, involuntarily.
You don't have to try to pay attention to them.
Exactly. It holds your attention in a restorative way, allowing that taxed prefrontal cortex, the seat of directed attention, to finally rest and recover.
And the effect is measurable.
Oh, absolutely. Research shows that even just 20 minutes spent outdoors, preferably in a green space, without devices,
Just being present.
actively lowers cortisol levels, reduces heart rate and blood pressure, improves mood, and significantly restores attentional capacity.
So it resets your mental energy and provides profound clarity, far more effectively than just, say, zoning out on the couch scrolling social media.
Far more effectively.
Oh.
It's a genuine mental refresh, tapping into our brain's evolutionary roots.
Okay, we have arrived at the crucial final stretch, the last two strategies, and these deal with the internal filter and the power of mindset itself.
Yeah, this feels like the foundational layer almost. Because all those other 13 strategies, the diet, sleep, exercise, breaks, nature, Their effectiveness can depend hugely on the perspective through which your brain processes information and experience.
How you frame things internally.
Exactly. This is about establishing a resilient, positive mental foundation. It's perhaps the most powerful lever we have because it dictates how we respond to everything: failure, stress, challenge, opportunity.
Reshaping the basic wiring of our emotional responses.
That's a good way to put it.
Okay, let's start with number 14. Practice gratitude. This sounds simple, maybe even a bit cliche to some.
It can sound that way.
But the guide insists this simple internal act has major chemical consequences. How does consciously focusing on being thankful physically change our brain?
Gratitude practice is an immediate and deliberate chemical reshaper. It's quite remarkable. When you consciously focus your attention on positive aspects of your life, things you appreciate,
Big or small?
big or small, doesn't matter, the act itself triggers the release of key neurotransmitters like dopamine,
The motivation and reward chemical.
serotonin.
The mood and well-being chemical?
Right. So you get an immediate mood boost. But more importantly, regular practice trains your brain's default mode. It starts to proactively scan for and notice the positive, rather than defaulting to its negativity bias, which is scanning for threats.
So it counteracts that natural tendency to focus on what's wrong or missing. That sounds like a powerful antidote to chronic stress, too, connecting back to our cortisol discussion.
It absolutely is. A brain that's regularly bathed in the chemistry of gratitude is fundamentally more resilient to stress. It bounces back faster.
And more creative, too.
Potentially, yes, because it's not paralyzed by perceived threats or scarcity. It's operating from a state of sufficiency, which frees up resources for exploration and new ideas, and definitely more focused because positive emotions broaden attentional scope.
And the habit itself is ridiculously simple, right? Like thinking of 3 things you're thankful for each night before sleep.
It can be that simple. Or keeping a gratitude journal. The key is consistency. That simple act, done regularly, systematically reinforces neural pathways geared towards optimism, resilience, and mental flexibility. It reshapes your mindset.
Okay, mindset foundation, gratitude. Now, the final piece, absolutely critical in our modern era. Number 15, avoid mental junk.
Yes, we talked about literal junk food earlier. Now we address the cognitive equivalent.
The stuff that just drains our precious mental energy without giving anything back.
Exactly. And I think we all intuitively recognize that feeling, don't we? After maybe an hour of mindless scrolling on social media or getting sucked into negative news cycles or engaging in gossip.
Yeah, it might be temporarily distracting or even stimulating in a weird way, but afterwards you feel depleted, kind of mentally hungover.
That's the perfect description. It's the cognitive opportunity cost.
Huh.
Your attention, as we've said, is arguably your most finite and valuable resource.
Right.
And these low-value mental inputs, they're often designed to be addictive, using variable reward schedules just like slot machines.
They're keeping you hooked.
They hijack your focus, consume your time and mental energy, but provide zero real nourishment. No valuable knowledge, no skill development, no genuine connection. They are the mental equivalent of empty calories.
And if we consistently spend our vital cognitive bandwidth, our focus, on that kind of mental trash,
we simply have less reserve capacity for the things that actually matter. Less energy for deep work, for focused learning, for creativity, for meaningful connection.
So the solution then has to be ruthless selectivity.
It really has to be.
Yeah.
You have to become a conscious, maybe even ruthless gatekeeper of your attention. Make deliberate choices.
How?
Choose inputs that align with your goals and values. Opt for uplifting books, high-quality articles, educational videos or documentaries, podcasts like this one, hopefully, inspiring conversations, content that actively contributes to your knowledge, skills, or well-being.
Be intentional about what you feed your mind.
Exactly. Because the ultimate conclusion here is pretty profound, isn't it? What you consume daily, physically, yes, but also mentally and emotionally, fundamentally dictates how your brain operates and performs.
If you want that unstoppable cognitive performance,
You absolutely must feed it quality inputs. Consciously, deliberately. Hashtag tag IUTRO. Synthesis and next steps.
Wow. Okay, 15 strategies. That was a lot to unpack.
It was a deep dive, for sure. But if we synthesize all of that, I think a central unifying theme really emerges clearly.
Which is?
The brain is, without doubt, the most powerful, most incredible organ available to you. But its peak capability isn't guaranteed. It's conditional.
Right. It requires deliberate action.
It requires strategic fuel, consistent rest and maintenance, effective emotional management, and perhaps most importantly, deliberate, intelligent challenge to stay strong, adaptive, and performing at its best.
Yeah, we covered so much ground. From the nitty-gritty of omega-3s affecting cell membrane fluidity
And BDNF boosting neuron growth through exercise.
to the critical glymphatic cleanup during sleep,
And protecting the hippocampus from cortisol damage by managing stress.
plus the active training through learning, writing, challenges, breaks.
And then regulating the environment with nature, music, social connection, and finally, filtering inputs with gratitude and avoiding mental junk.
It really is a comprehensive system designed for, well, immediate application.
It is. But the key takeaway here, I think, is not to feel overwhelmed and try to implement all 15 strategies perfectly starting tomorrow.
Right, that would be counterproductive, probably lead to more stress.
Exactly. That just leads to decision fatigue and giving up. The research and common sense encourages starting small.
Pick one or two.
Pick 1 or 2 foundational habits that resonate with you most, or where you feel the biggest need. Maybe it's really committing to that 7-9 hours of quality sleep consistently.
Or maybe integrating that simple 20-minute brisk walk, that BDNF booster, into your lunch break.
Right. Pick something achievable and practice it daily. Focus on consistency until it becomes automatic, part of your routine. Then maybe add another one.
Because the payoff, according to the sources, can be surprisingly rapid and genuinely transformative.
The promise is pretty clear. By committing to these fundamental practices, even starting small, you will likely experience a palpable difference, maybe in just a few weeks.
More clarity, better memory recall, sharper focus.
Feeling more mentally resilient or capable, maybe even feeling mentally unstoppable.
That's the goal.
And if we zoom out one last time, connecting this incredible potential back to you, the listener, the learner, the final thought is this.
Go on.
Your brain is the single most powerful investment you will ever make, period. Take meticulous care of it. Fuel it right, let it rest, protect it from stress, challenge it consistently, nourish it fully with quality inputs.
And it will repay that effort.
By taking care of pretty much everything else in your life, your work, your relationships, your well-being, it all stems from that cognitive engine.
That is a profound thought to leave with, and definitely a powerful call to action. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into maximizing cognitive potential.
My pleasure.
Go out there and start investing in your ultimate asset.